I just watched Maul Shadow Lord episode 1. I didn't take a lot of notes just because, like, these episodes are kind of short, but, like, first impressions of the show, I guess. First thing I wrote within the first 2 seconds, already love the soundtrack. I'm guessing that Kevin Kiner did it because he usually does most of the animated shows. Actually, I think he's done like all the music for all the animated shows. But I absolutely love that. I love that they brought in the Duel of the Fates score into Maul's sort of like reveal, I don't know, like shot or whatever when he comes down the ramp of the shuttle. I thought that was so good. I was like, I love that. I loved the bit, and obviously there was a reason for taking the droid in the first place, but I love the bit when one of the members of Maul's gang like used the bank droid as a shield. I thought it was really funny. Turns out they needed the droid in the first place, but I thought it was really funny that they were like holding the droid as a shield. I absolutely loved that. I love the animation style for this. I love the way that the lightsaber sort of crackles. I thought that was really cool, and I also really like that like there's layers to the animation because there's like the 3D rendering with like the characters and some of the buildings, but the backgrounds are like they look like painted backdrops, and I really really liked that. I thought it looked really cool and like I wouldn't say natural, but it just like it's very artistic, and I really liked that. And then I absolutely loved the like little spy droid, whatever it is, that like it seems like mostly the female Mandalorian like controls and stuff like that, but I loved that. There's like a shot where like Maul like strokes the top of its head, and I got very much like was it like Doctor No, like the evil cat. It's the evil cat of the show, I guess. But then there's like the bit where the droid is fighting with the other droid, which I think is voiced by Richard Armitage, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look it up. But they're fighting together, and the spy droid is like, no, I got you. You can't get through. And I love the little clips and stuff like that. I thought they were really cool. Overall, like, that's literally all I wrote down for now. Like, I've only been talking for like 2 minutes. But I liked this episode so far. I mean, the episodes are so short that, like, I don't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted to like talk about them like 2 episodes at a time because they get released two at a time, but I wasn't sure if I would have time to watch 2 episodes at a time. So I was like, just small, tiny 5-minute chunks of me talking about episodes, and I'll probably go into like deeper depth once we get into it. But like you've been introduced to the cast of characters, you sort of know what Maul's going after. It's like he wants to get revenge for all the syndicates that essentially betrayed him at the end of the Clone Wars. And then you see that he wants to obtain this new apprentice. He's Mr. Steelio apprentice, so like that makes sense. And I know very much that like the plot is kind of similar to the plot of like what George Lucas had in mind for a sequel trilogy, where like it was going to be about Maul taking on an apprentice and training her, and like they were going to be the big bads, and then we got what we have now for the sequels instead. But I love Maul. He's like my favorite. He's my favorite. One of my favorites. Him and Thrawn are like my two favorites. Absolutely love Maul. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Chopper. Absolutely love Star Wars and all its glory and sometimes not glory. But I do love Star Wars, and I love Maul so much, and I was just excited to see him again in something, because I feel like I rewatch Rebels and Clone Wars fairly regularly, but like I feel like it's been a minute since like we've gotten something new regarding Maul. The last time we got something new regarding Maul was like the last episode of Clone Wars, which is peak animation right there. Like, I don't think anything can truly beat that for me. That is peak animation. This show might beat it, but that was glorious. That last episode made me sob. But yeah, like I'm excited to see what else happens. Like, we've got our cast of characters and like who we're gonna follow along for the story. I'm just curious to see how it goes. I know it's already been renewed for a season 2, which I thought was really funny. It's like the show hasn't even come out and it's already renewed for a season 2, so I thought that was really funny. But I think those are all my thoughts for episode 1, so we'll just see what happens for the next other episode. Alright, so I just watched the second episode of Maul Shadow Lord, and I still love this show. I think I biffed Richard Ayoade's name in the first one, or my comment on the first episode. I think I called him Richard Armitage, and I was like, I like wrote that down. I was like, that doesn't sound right. I don't think that's his name, and it's not. I wrote the same little amount of notes. You can't even say that as the last time. I mean, one, the episodes are really short, but two, it's just like, I'm just watching it. Like, it's still the beginning. I know that there's gonna be like 10 episodes, so like it's gonna be, I mean, technically speaking, because like each episode's like 20 to 30 minutes long, it's still only like 5 hours, but like that's still a decent amount of time to like still get to know characters. And like in this one, we learned more about the cop, and that he's clearly divorced from his wife, or like they're not really seeing each other anymore. He clearly has a fairly strained relationship with his son, because he's like the workaholic cop that's never home and stuff like that. And apparently his son plays lacrosse. I wrote down, I was like, Star Wars has lacrosse. But that was just a thing that I noticed. I was like, oh, there's lacrosse in Star Wars. But my Richard Ariyotti mention was that his droid, this specifically comes from the bit like after, like in the middle of Maul like leaving with the kid and the other guy. I'll maybe eventually learn their names, but the kid and the other guy, and the droid is, and the cop is like, oh, we need like backup, like we need to get like hitch a ride somewhere to follow them, essentially. And the cop is in Two Boots, I think is his name, like Richard Ayoade's droid character, is like, I got it. And then he jumps off the ledge and like lands somewhere, and he's like, hey, we need to borrow this police activity. And I wrote down, I was like, he's giving Anakin Skywalker vibes, like sheer chaotic recklessness, Anakin Skywalker vibes. And I'm so here for it. Or like there's another scene, and I think it's in this episode, I watched these two back to back, but I think it's in this episode where he like hands the cop a coffee, and the cop is just like, how do you like the calf? And he's like, dumps the mug, and he's like, well, I can't drink it, this is just so that we're doing a thing at the same time. And I thought it was so funny. Oh my god, I still absolutely love the score. I think it's so good. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Kevin Kiner did it, because he does it for like all the animated shows, but it's so good. I love it so much. I go back and forth about my love of his scores for some of the shows. Like, I didn't particularly care for the Bad Batch score, but like I loved Ahsoka, and I loved the score for like a good chunk of the Clone Wars and like a good chunk of Rebels. So like I was just like, Thrawn's theme is peak Kevin Kiner content, like right there. And so I was just very, very excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this score is amazing, and I absolutely love it. So, but I felt like I had to say it again. So I love that. And then I wrote this down. I love the emptiness of Maul's lair. I noticed it, and I think it's just like, it's partially like a design choice, but I think it's partially the animation. It's like, I mean, you look around everywhere, and it's like everything is like, I wouldn't call it grungy, but it's like, it's worn, it's old. Like, they're using these, like, my dad calls them iron lungs, and I made an iron lung joke, but like these big, huge, like, bins to hold that like clearly have been like shoved up against a wall, as we learn at the end of the episode, to like hold people as prisoners. And like, it's fairly empty. Like, clearly this is like a newer place of operation, where like there's not a lot of stuff going on. Like, it's essentially the bare minimum. It's like they're there to, cause shit essentially in this area that's clearly not Empire occupied, which I think is part of the reason why they're there. And also I think part of the reason why the cop doesn't want to tell the Empire that they found Maul, because you don't really want Imperial occupation. Like, nobody fucking wants imperial occupation. And so I just find that interesting, where it's like, clearly all the syndicates regularly go to this planet because there's no Empire there, and none of the people want the Empire there, and stuff like that. And obviously that's probably why you have this Jedi and a Padawan who, I mean, they're living a poor life because they can't afford anything else, but like, I guess in a way it's because the guy like wanted to save the people on the bridge, but at the same time it's like no one really batted an eye when he was using the force. I mean, it looked like only the cop truly noticed it, but still I find that very interesting that people weren't staring at them being like Jedi. So I thought that was very very interesting. My last note is just that the spy droid is a less homicidal chopper. I wrote this down when it was like fucking up with the Pike ship and it like started laughing and I was like, so this is just a less homicidal chopper, which I find really funny because it's a spy droid involved with a gang and somehow looks like it'll commit less war crimes than our chopper boy up here. And I'm like, that's chaos in and of itself. But I love this droid. This droid, nothing will beat him. I can't even touch him. There we go. I'll take you down. But like this is my boy, and nothing will ever beat him in my hearts. But this other droid is getting very close. I still love you though. But yeah, and then I liked the ending. I already can't wait for next week. Like I already can't wait for next week just to watch more. I'm very very excited. But yeah, I think those are all of my thoughts for episode 2. Like we've learned a little bit more about characters. The kid is starting to at least, escape. We'll see what she does next. Who knows? But yeah, that's it. Alright, so I just watched episode 3 of Maul Shadow Lord, and I really, really, really liked this episode. It's essentially Maul fucking with a teenager for 30 minutes, but it was so entertaining to watch, like, their entire dynamic. It was like kind of annoying that it went back and forth between like I believe her name is Devin, but like Devin and Maul interacting, and then to like everything else that's going on with like the cops and stuff like that. Like it was annoying for that, but like it was kind of interesting where it's like she escapes, the Mandalorians are essentially like go that way, she runs into Maul is just like casually making tea for the two of them, and then she like takes his lightsaber and he like turns the lights off and it's so cool, and then he's like running around in the shadows fucking with her until she like manages to go up, and then the shot of like his shadow on her face was so fucking good and so cool. And then him being like, I wasn't actually gonna let you leave, which is, so Maul coded in that way. But then like they end up getting into this fight, and what's really interesting is that he has his hand, like one of his hands, behind his back the whole time, while like sometimes she uses only one hand with her lightsaber, but a lot of times she's double teaming it, especially when she's blocking. And I thought that was really cool that it's like Maul isn't putting his full force and his full effort into this fight. Like he's so casual, like obviously he's stronger than her, she's a child, which like is a little mean to say because Ahsoka definitely wiped the floor with him, but like Ahsoka's on a whole other level than I feel like any other Padawan is. Her master was Anakin Skywalker. So but I just thought it was really cool that the way that it's like they showed that he's so obviously stronger than he is and he knows it, and which is just Maul's very large inflated ego, but the fact that he's like one-handing it the whole time, just being so chill and so calm about it. I did really like that. I thought it was so good. Just yeah, that and it's so Maul the way that he talks, which is really funny. Like the part that really got to me was like she calls him a murderer and he's like, we do the things that we have to or whatever, and I'm like, that's such a Maul way of being accused of a murderer, just being like, sometimes we just have to do some things to get by in life. And I'm like, that's so shit that he would just tell somebody, and it made me laugh so much. I just, oh my god. What else? I think they referenced Mother Talzin in it because Maul talks about how both the Sith killed his brother and his mother, so I think that's a reference to Mother Talzin dying. Obviously, we know that Savage is the reference to brother, but I thought that I should mention it. I was like, oh, so they're referencing Mother Talzin, stuff like that. Moving on to something else. I didn't write a whole lot down, but I had to point this out where it's like only two cops going after the Pikes is crazy. Like I just from watching Book of Boba Fett, it's like you don't fuck with the Pikes, And so the fact that it's like they know that there's gonna be some form of deal with the Pikes and they send in two cops is insane to me. I'm like, the Pikes are fucking crazy. Like they are insane. Probably like the worst syndicate to deal with out of all of the gangs. And you're gonna send two fucking cops? Like, goddamn. I know that, like, I don't remember anybody's names, but I know that, like, the main guy, like, wanted to go, but, like, his son's game was happening at the same time. It was, like, very obvious that he was gonna leave the game early for some reason or another. But, like, it very much is just like, you only send two cops to deal with this? That is crazy. It's like, I, too, do not want the Empire to get involved, but, like, if you're dealing with the Pikes and another syndicate that's fucking with the Pikes, you should probably have, some more people in. But we did get a hint that the cop is, well, I guess used to be married to someone who works for the Empire. So we know that. Maybe that's why they got divorced. Who knows? But I thought I would just mention that. And then literally my only other note is that the spy bot is so dog coded. I just wrote he gives Maul scary dog privilege, which I feel like could go either way. But like I think at one point he like literally growls at somebody and just goes, "I want to kill you," and I was like, God, that's so scary dog coded. It's just hilarious. I was like, God, this fucking spy bot is so great. But yeah, my dad with the other two episodes sort of pointed out how film noir this like show is with like the sort of like cop who has to get, information from not the greatest of sources, and he's got a shitty relationship with his wife and his son, and he's never home and he has to work all the time. And I was like, I now that I've been told it, I like can't unsee it, especially with this one. But it's very much like the local cop that doesn't want to get like the nation, like the FBI involved or something like that. It was so, God, it's so film noir coded now. But it's like he doesn't like that, but I'm like, it's not that terrible so far. So there's that. I understand where Two Boots is coming from. I'm not surprised that he like went over the guy's head, but I thought he would go over and just immediately contact the Empire, and I think that Two Boots is eventually going to just straight up contact the Empire and be like, we obviously can't handle this, but it is kind of like, it doesn't surprise me. But I just loved the shot at the end where like Two Boots is like running data files and like pushes a crate in front of the picture of him and the guy, and I was like, wow, this is so petty. He's so pissed, and I'm just like, God damn. Like later on he's like, I apologize for, going above you for the safety of this planet. And I was like, God, he's so mad right now. And I love it a little bit. So, yeah, I think those are all my thoughts for now. God, I cannot wait to watch all of the show. It's gonna be so fun. So, but yeah, I miss Maul. I miss having Maul. I'm glad that Maul is back. I loved me some Maul. Also, it's such a good show. Like, the animation is phenomenal, and the voice acting obviously is great. Like, I don't expect anything less from Sam Witwer, but like everybody else also is doing a really really good job with the voice acting and stuff like that. And then I love the soundtrack, which does not surprise me at all. Like Heiner and company, like him and his kids, like obviously they're gonna do a great job. They do a great job with everything. I love that it's, the style that they always use for, especially for the Star Wars shows. I feel like it's a very unique. I wouldn't say it's a unique style for composition for music, but it's very fun and it's very Star Wars. So yeah, obviously takes a lot of inspiration from like martial arts movies and the music from there and stuff like that, which like works in its favor because Star Wars itself is very much inspired by martial arts, and you see it in some of the other shows and stuff like that. Like that's part of the reason why I loved The Acolyte so much, is a lot of fighting styles is very martial arts movie stylized and stuff like that, and I liked that. So I like that we're still applying that even to animated shows and stuff like that. But music tangent aside, I think those are all my thoughts for episode 3. So see what episode 4 has in store. Alright, so I just watched episode 4, and I'm so stoked for the next batch of episodes just from the ending alone. Like, the like Imperial March theme starting with like the aerial shot of the Star Destroyer coming in and the back of it, and I'm like so stoked. We're like, the Empire Party's beginning. Ain't no party like an Empire Party, because an Empire Party don't stop. I'm so excited. Oh god. But I also really liked this episode. I literally only wrote two things. But like this episode started so cool with like the setup on the pikes, because like the guy comes out, or like Maul comes out of the ship, and I was like, that's not like Maul, because there's no way in hell Maul gets stunned that quickly in a fight. And then it turns out it's not, and he shows up and essentially like does a better version of Snoke getting killed by a lightsaber he's currently holding, where it's like he flicks the lightsaber around, the guy just like gets fully slashed in half, and it's so fucking cool. And just, god, I was like, he's just aura farming his way into destroying the pikes, and it looks so great, and I'm fully here for it. I was just like, oh my god, I love this so much. I just So I really liked that. And then we sort of get into, I kind of figured that the operation against Maul was gonna fail. Like, there was no way that it was gonna succeed. Like, he's so powerful. Like, Lawson's not gonna succeed in that. I did think that Lawson shutting off Two Boots to prevent him from contacting the Empire was so dirty that it did not surprise me that Two Boots, after being powered back on, contacted the Empire. I was like, of course he's gonna, like, Two Boots is gonna contact the Empire. Like, this is obviously, as you can tell, way out of your fucking league. So I am curious to see, like, if they're gonna bring in someone new who's a part of the Empire, or if it's somebody we already know. Like, I'm very curious to see how that turns out, or anything like that. I'm so excited for the next batch of episodes. I can't wait till next week. But like I said, I literally wrote, my two things were about Maul aura farming and like shutting off Two Boots is salty, and that's all I wrote down for this episode. Because I was just watching it, and it's just like, it's, god, it's so cool. Like, I was noticing this week that like the animation on Maul looks very hand drawn. Like, his face looks very hand drawn. Like, the like, you can see the lines of the art that used to create him. Like, I don't know if it is hand drawn or if it's CG or anything like that, but it looks so cool. Like, the art style of the show is amazing, and I liked the whole setup where like they come out and they try and do the peace offering, which I'm like kind of surprised that Lawson doesn't accept, because clearly there's a lot of crime activity that they just kind of like let happen. And so I'm kind of surprised that Lawson just doesn't accept Maul's offer. Like, it's just, clearly it's like, he's not going to cause a whole lot of shit throughout the city. Like, as long as he can do his crime dealings, everything's fine. And they both don't want the Empire involved. But Lawson's like, no, I'm not going to take that offer. And it's like, but clearly you've been letting other crime syndicates, like, maybe, like, not by choice, but, like, a lot of crime is still occurring in the city. Like, as we can see through the first, like, 2 to 3 episodes, a lot of crime occurs in the city, and, like, you don't kind of seem to be doing a whole lot about it. So, that's interesting. I don't know. That was just my thought on that. But yeah, so I was like, okay, seems like a weird thing to decline. And then, of course, the shooting starts happening, and obviously that was gonna be a shit show from the beginning. I liked when Maul, like, noticed the like, camera that the cops were using and, like, destroys it. Which I thought was really cool. And the fight between Maul and the Jedi was really cool, because he's just kicking that old man's ass. He's kicking that old man's ass. That old man is getting his ass thoroughly beat. And Devin can, like, kind of, like, keep herself in check pretty good. But obviously, like, at Maul's full force, she can't keep up, really. But, like, I think in a way, like, he doesn't want to kill her. And obviously he wants to kill, what was it, Dakin is his name? Like, to get Devin on his side. But, like, I don't think that's the way to it. But she is, like, starting to realize that it's, like, the life that they currently lead is not the life that like she grew up thinking that she would lead. Like you kind of can tell that where it's like they shouldn't be in hiding from the Empire, and so I think that like she's slowly being turned on to Maul's side a little bit, which I find interesting. I kind of have a bit of a theory though, which is that now that the Empire is involved, I think the Empire is going to kill her master, and I think it's going to piss her off to the point where she joins Maul. That's my theory. I don't know if it's true. We've got 6 more episodes, so we'll have to wait and see. But that's a theory that I have for now. But I mean, a lot of this episode like takes place during this like setup of trying to fight Maul and stuff like that. But it's so cool. I loved the beginning, like the whole Pike setup, and then it moves on to that, and it was just, yeah, it was a good way to end this episode. I'm very, very excited for the next episode. Cannot wait until next week. These weeks cannot come by fast enough. God, I hate waiting for episodes to come out. It's infuriating. I'm so used to binging things that I can't. I mean, I know it's 2 episodes a week, but they're only like 20 to 30 minutes long. It's not enough. I want more. I want more. I don't know. I just love the show so much. That could also just be me crushing on Maul for 10 episodes straight, which is probably what this entire review is going to be, is me crushing on Maul for 10 minutes straight. I've had a crush on that guy since I was a child. I'm just like, he's hot. You put it right there. He's hot. I'm here for it. So, but yeah, these are all my thoughts on episode 4. Alright, so I just watched episode 5, and this was a bit of a slow episode, but I really liked it. We've got the Empire coming in, and it's not Rai's mom who's sort of the imperial person that comes in, but it's fine, whatever. We still got to see her, so that's fine. We know who she is now, and like clearly she's not involved with them, but like she still works for the Empire. She still has trust in the Empire, and it kind of seems like Rai in a way doesn't. Obviously, Lawson doesn't, but like that was interesting to see. But the guy that is in charge, is the only way I can describe him is that he's a Targaryen wannabe. He looks like a Targaryen, so that's why I'm like, he's a Targaryen wannabe. So there's that, and then we also have an Inquisitor now, hence the title Inquisition for the episode, which I liked. I don't know which Inquisitor it is. I can't decipher them from the masks. I can only decipher them from their faces usually, or if we've even met this Inquisitor before. But I like the texture of his mask. The animation in the show is so good. I feel like I've said it before, but like it's so good, and I just love the way that the mask is textured. Like it looks very metallic. So that's great. I liked this episode in the way that it's like it's slow, but we're sort of seeing how the Empire is impacting like our 3 main groups. There's like Maul's group, and then Devin, and then Lawson, and how like the Empire is affecting all of them. So like for Lawson, it's like he lost his boss. He's now having to like maneuver around, all this imperial influence in his workplace now. Like he's, he it seems like he has a bit of a strained relationship now with Two Boots. Like I think that Two Boots, he's just following protocol, but it's like Lawson, very much is like, why did you have to do that? So there's that. It seems like he might be somewhat developing a better relationship with his son. We'll see. And that my dad and I have predictions that like about he thinks that Raya is gonna join Maul's group, or Lawson's gonna join Maul's group, and I predict that Raya's gonna join the Empire and go against his dad. But we'll see. We have different predictions for that. So there's that, and then Devin and her master's sort of issues with the stormtroopers, because they constantly walk around asking for identification. I was very surprised about how often they managed to just casually walk away from these stormtroopers. Like they did it, I think, like 3 times until they finally got caught at like the train station, which I found crazy. I was like, you managed to get away that many, like just casually walking away from these stormtroopers, none of them batting an eye, and then eventually, they stop them. They're like, we need to see some identification. And he goes, you don't need to see my identification. That shit fails because there's like 20 different stormtroopers. So there's that, and then it's not surprising that Lawson is their sort of go-to guy now, but just his face at the end is just like, fuck, which made me laugh. I do say, okay, my first of 2 notes. One of them was about, how many times Devin managed to get away from just casually walking away from these stormtroopers. My first note is that I don't know if I just never noticed it before, but Lawson has a massive caffeine addiction. He's got so many cups of coffee on his desk, and then he's like asking for a cup of coffee in the interrogation room, and then he takes like the last sips of coffee from his desk, which it seems like he's been there for hours, so that coffee's hella cold, and then he's drinking coffee in the car on the way back to his place. And I was like, I never realized the massive caffeine addiction that this man has. There's like 10 cups of coffee on his desk. I was like, either you don't clean your desk or you're constantly drinking coffee. And I feel like it's the latter. I feel like he's just constantly drinking coffee. It's crazy. I was like, oh my god, this man has a giant caffeine addiction. It's crazy. But I kept hyper focusing on that throughout this episode. I was like, he has so many coffee mugs on his desk. There's too many, and every time like he's sitting at his desk, Two Boots is usually giving him a cup of coffee, like from the previous episodes. And Two Boots even gives him a cup of coffee in this one too, being like as like I'm not mad at you cup of coffee anymore. It was crazy, but it was just a thing that I noticed. I was like, my god, this man has so much coffee. But there's that, and then Maul's like going back to my thing about the different groups relating to the like in their relation to the Empire, and then Maul's is very much like we didn't get a lot of Maul in a Maul show this time around, but it's very much like him sort of, he wants to say to get Devin, but clearly everybody else doesn't. Like, there's probably going to be a mutiny because it seems like the Mandalorians are the ones that are the most like, this isn't working out for us kind of thing. And so there's probably going to be some form of mutiny occurring soon. He got his knee fixed. His knees are working again. They're zip-zapped working again, so good for him. He's no longer hobbling like an old man. He got his knees fixed. Great job. Can't relate. But that was interesting to watch. And then, just the hope to get Devin, and then, him at the end being like, oh, man, she got caught by the Empire. However, will I live? He's like, oh, man, I might be her only way out. But I did sort of have a feeling from the previous episode that, like, his words were going to eke into her soul a little bit, and they kind of do. And I think her master's sort of, like, trying to delve her away, but it's like, Maul kind of has a point. Like, definitely her master's like, you know what, they'll come, they'll get Maul, and they'll lighten up a bit. And I'm like, oh, my sweet summer child, they will not. They will not at all. It's like they're here to stay. That's how the Empire works. So that was interesting. Do I have other thoughts? Spybot. Spybot is still my favorite bot. I love, he's my favorite bot in this show. No one will replace Chopper in my brain. Just nothing. But I love Spybot. He's my second favorite droid now. I didn't know anyone could beat K2 in that, but K2's been demoted as my third favorite droid now, because Spybot is just too good. He's too good! So, I think those are all my thoughts for episode 5. Alright, so I just finished watching episode 6, and I loved it. I'm so here for the show. Like, we're over halfway through now, and I'm so here for the show, but also like can't wait for May the 4th to come and me to be done watching the show, because I want more of it. And I really liked it. Once again, I took no notes. I took one note, and it is, why is Two Boots wearing boots? Why is Two Boots wearing boots? I guess we'll never know the answer to that, but I think Two Boots is kind of starting to realize that maybe the Empire is kind of not what he thought it would be. There's that. But yeah, this episode went about as well as I thought it would, with 2 Jedi showing up at Lawson's place, but it seems that Rye is sort of figuring out that the Empire is not what it is, because, like, obviously there's some divide where it's like his mom works for the Empire, she works at Coruscant, like in Coruscant, that's like what he told Devin, but then his dad clearly doesn't like the Empire for some reason. And I'm sure that, like, his mom going to work for the Empire had something to do with his parents splitting up in the first place. And so now, like, he sort of, has faith in the Empire because his mom works for them, but clearly now, like, that's starting to become a divide, being like, well, why is the Empire hunting these Jedi? stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. It's like, why are they hunting them? We'll find out. So I don't know. I'm very curious. Like, I wasn't quite sure that Rye would play such a huge role in the show, but it seems like it is. I love his interactions with Devin because they're clearly two just like very awkward teenagers, but like Devin has obviously so much more life experience than he does because he's a teenager going to school and she's fought in a fucking war. So I'm assuming she's at the age that she was like actually fighting in the Clone Wars during that time. I could be wrong, but it seems like she's, maybe like slightly younger than Ahsoka is. So like it very clearly seems to be that like she would be at that age where she was fighting in the Clone Wars, so she had a very different childhood than than Rye, which is really interesting. But I liked the scene where they were in Rye's room together, and I loved that the only thing that Lawson said was just like, "Hey, make sure she doesn't steal anything." And I'm like, "You're putting your son in a room with a girl, and that's your statement." I was just like, that is really funny, but just her slight like nod towards him, being like, "You motherfucker." But I liked that bit. I liked that Maul took the absolute opportunity that was Devin being in trouble to like essentially come to her rescue. But I loved them fighting together. Like that was so cool. Like it worked so well. They're both fighting against the Inquisitor, and in a way, it's like they have this mutual enemy that is the Inquisitor, that is the Empire, but then, like I think she's sort of starting to realize that it's like maybe like Maul's way is the way to go. Like obviously she had doubts about sort of her life before she even met Maul, because like her and her master were living on the streets. They like essentially had to rely on the kindness of strangers to be able to live and survive, and like that wasn't really working, which is why she tried to steal in the first place. It would is like essentially kind of what got her into this mess in the first place. But it's like Maul in a way has a point for her where it's just like the way of the Jedi isn't working anymore. Like sometimes you must, how did Maul phrase it? Sometimes we have to do things to survive. And maybe murder's not the way to go. But although she's already killed several stormtroopers for that day, but like like I don't know. It's like maybe he's getting under her skin a little bit more. I'm actually very surprised that her master is still alive, though. I fully thought he was gonna die in this episode. I thought either the Inquisitor was gonna kill him, or Maul was gonna like sneak in and take a stab, and then he's still alive somehow, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But we'll see. I don't think he's gonna live till the end of the show, though. I fully expect him to die. Like absolutely fully expect him to die. But I sort of, God, I just want next week to come. But I liked this episode. I liked, the chases. I liked the fighting. I really like the Inquisitor. I think that he's a super cool like design and character, and we're not getting the stupid lightsaber flying, which I don't think they'll put back in because it looks so dumb in Rebels. But honestly, a little bit, I was just like, just a little shot of it would make me a tiny bit happy. But yeah, so we don't really get any of that. So this episode was just mostly about like them running from the Empire, and you get a little bit of Lawson's past with the bounty hunter. And it seems like there might have been more than just a they saved each other's life thing happening. And it seems like Ryan kind of knows that too. Devin definitely pointed that out too. She's like, who is this woman? But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then of course the mysterious ending of talking to the mysterious master, which I don't know. The silhouette kind of made it look like it was Sidious, but usually the Inquisitors report to either the Grand Inquisitor or to Vader. So I find that very interesting that it's Sidious himself. But I mean, considering the fact that Sidious is the one that trained Maul in the first place, that makes the most sense that like you would bypass everybody else and report straight to Maul, being like, "Yes, we have found Maul. This is in fact him." And he's being aided by two Jedi, or he's working with two Jedi. So I'm guessing they're gonna send in more Inquisitors. That's my guess for the next episode, but we'll see. My guess is our Master's not gonna live very long. If it's not episode 7, I'm gonna say it's episode 8 when he dies, and more Inquisitors are going to be sent in. And I also kind of hope it's Inquisitors that we know, but who knows. So, but I think those are all my thoughts for episode 6. I wrote like no notes for these. I was just watching this. Then again, I like am eating while watching these episodes, so I'm more focused on my food than writing stuff down. But I mean, I really like these episodes so far. I love it so much. I cannot wait till next week. But yeah, those are all my thoughts. All right. Hello. Oh my god, it's already falling. No, I give up. It doesn't fit on my hair. If you can't tell by the crown, happy May the 4th. And you might be wondering, episode 7 didn't come out on May the 4th, which is that last week both my dad and I got very, very busy. So we just decided not to watch episode 7 and 8. And we're like, let's just hardcore party it up Star Wars wise on May the 4th, even though I have to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow for work. And just like go and get the bounty bundle from Burger King and and watch 4 episodes of Maul Shadow Lord at the same time. And the bundle was okay. I just like small tiny review of the bounty bundle. I genuinely don't remember the last time I had Burger King, so nah. I'm not a fast food person, so like, I don't know. I didn't really know what to expect in that stance, but like the shake was pretty good. It's super duper sweet. I still haven't finished it yet, but I like the crown. That crown is living forever with me now, and I like the cup, but the food itself was just like, meh, it was fine. But moving on to the actual episode, I didn't write too many episodes, and I will state I was partially focused on my food, so I wouldn't necessarily say that I was paying too much attention to things. But my first note is just Rye is so confused, which I wrote down when he's like following Devin, who's following Maul, and this boy will not shut the fuck up. But he keeps being like, do you trust him? We should run away. We should do this. And Maul is just listening to these 2 kids bigger, and he's like, oh my god, teenagers. But I just thought it was so confusing, especially when he like, they get to the place, and I don't remember his name, but like the little guy who is like one of the heads of one of the syndicates is like, hey, look, you're back. And Rye's just like, what do you mean back? And I love the way that Spybot fucks with Rye. It's so funny. Spybot is the best. Like, fully here for the best, like, fully here for Spybot, but like, he's just like fucking with Rye, and I absolutely loved it. I love the part where the Spybot like fully took out a probe droid. That was so entertaining. I loved that. I really didn't take a lot of notes. One thing that, like, I guess I should have written down, but I did unfortunately get spoilers for, was that I knew another Inquisitor would get involved. So, like, I didn't write it down just because I was like, I know another Inquisitor is getting involved. I will state, though, that Maul's bionic legs just constantly like malfunctioning and screwing him over, and especially like the knee area is so funny as a person with like horrible knee pain. Like it made me laugh so much. He like lands at one point and he's like, oh, these knees, and I was like, same dude, same. It made me laugh so much. But I loved that. I did like the fight between him and the 2 Inquisitors, and I hope that like eventually he meets up with Devin again and they fight the Inquisitors together. That would be thoroughly entertaining. But I liked that. I wrote down that I smelled a mutiny, and then that wouldn't necessarily say the mutiny occurred. They just kind of like abandoned the other Mandalorians and stuff, and then immediately blew up in the ship that they left to escape with. So like, whatever. But yeah, shit kind of hit the fan at the end of that episode. And then like Two Boots, poor Two Boots, he just wants to follow protocol, and when he did, the Empire came, and the Empire doesn't even want to follow protocol. I'm half convinced that like Two Boots is gonna start a homicidal rampage just because no one wants to follow Imperial protocol. Like, I'm half convinced with that, but I think Two Boots is sort of trying to, like, starting to realize, like, maybe the Empire isn't all that it's chalked up to be, and he lost his boots. So sad he lost his boots. But yeah, like, I am hoping that we get more Two Boots with the next episode, because I love Two Boots. But There's that, and then I am kind of curious. My guess is that Two Boots is gonna help Rye escape, and they're all gonna meet up together, and then Maul will emerge from the ashes of the cave that he collapsed, and I don't know, fuck shit up. I guess we shall see. But I think those are all my thoughts for episode 7. I didn't really talk a whole lot. I think I said more about my damn Burger King food than I talked about episode 7. It's been 2 weeks. It's been a minute since I talked about one of these episodes. I guess I'm just rusty, but I don't know. I was vibing. I was vibing with my blue shake and my Grogu crown and my cup. I was just vibing with my Bounty Whopper, which was just okay. Those are all my thoughts for episode 7. Alright, so I just finished watching episode 8 of Maul, and I took so many notes. Essentially, this entire page, which means I have to get a new note sheet because this one's empty now. I really liked this episode. It was a fun episode, but I also have some gripes with it, which I think are like my first general gripes with the show, which is that I didn't like some of the cuts in this episode. So the first one that I didn't like was honestly like the first thing I wrote down, which is at the beginning of the episode when Maul like escapes and he essentially does this like twirly thing towards like a tube that clearly he's gonna like drill into with his lightsaber and escape down. But they cut away from it, and I think part of it is that they couldn't like bullshit their way into like animating that. But I think it's also because it probably would have looked super duper stupid just like zoom, like twirling it around, going through the hole, and probably just like immediately like face planting into the ground and like eating shit. But like my dad's the one who said like, oh, I wish that we had like been able to see that, and I was like, I do too. Another one that I didn't like was when Devin stole the speeder and we don't get to watch her beat the shit out of those guys. She just goes like, oh, okay, and then it cuts to her in the speeder driving away and the guy's on the ground unconscious. And I was like, no, I want to watch her beat the shit out of random guys. So I was sad about that. There were like a couple things here and there, but it was a fun episode. It's like sort of just like Devin and mostly Devin, like Devin fucking things up and like Two Boots helping Rye escape intermixed with Maul having an existential crisis. So it was very interesting. My second note, because I looked at it and it was just, I laughed out loud and I had to write it down, and then 2 seconds later I like fist bumped the air, which is, and you'll get why, which is Maul on the ground after he like essentially wakes up from what I assume is him face planting into that hole and just eating shit. And he wakes up and he's staring into like a puddle of water. And he does this a couple times, but it was the first one where my brain saw that and my brain just went, I'm not gonna stop. Not gonna stop till I get my shot. Like, I kept thinking of High School Musical 2, and then he smacks the water eventually, and I just went, fuck yeah! I was right. I was like, he's High School Musicaling this shit, and it made me laugh so much, but he's like kind of going a little insane. He's going back to Spider Mall, which like my dad and I are just like, Spider Mall? Spider Mall does whatever a Spider Mall does. But like that made me laugh so much. But it's also just sort of like reasonable, where it's like it shows how much Sidious has taken away from Maul. There was one bit in that, which is that like I was under the impression that like Maul and Savage didn't actually know each other until Savage became Dooku's apprentice and like went after and tried to find Maul again. So I was like, I don't know. This could also be me getting Legends stuff mixed up, because I was under the impression that Maul was taken when he was a baby, but I think that's actually a Legends thing and not a canon thing. I don't remember. I've read a lot of Star Wars books. I think no, because I think that was from Darth Plagueis, and I think Darth Plagueis is Legends and not canon, so that makes sense. But yeah, so I guess like in canon lore, they haven't actually ever truly explained when Sidious took Maul, but I was just always under the impression that he was like a literal like infant, like a 2-year-old or something like that, sort of like the age that you are when you're taken with the Jedi as Padawans or as younglings. So I was just kind of surprised that he was more of like a, I don't know, probably like an 8-year-old to 10-year-old, which kind of surprised me. But it's like it does show like all the shit that Sidious has put Maul through, and so I like that in a way. He also very much is like never again. He is trying to be more gentler with Devin, but it's still not working. She's very stubborn. But I thought that was interesting. He's very much like never again. Oh yeah, okay. I wrote this down, and I think it still stands. But like Rai, when he's in the interrogation room, and the Inquisitor walks in, and I think he's like cowering in fear. But the way he is, his fists sort of come up here, and I was like, is he about to fist fight this Inquisitor? Like, it looks like he's putting his fists up to like fist fight this Inquisitor, and I had to like write that down. It made me laugh so much. And then I just wrote down 2 Boots, fuck your protocol. I think this is when he's like talking about Lawson wanting to like trade himself for Rai, and 2 Boots was like, this isn't the standard protocol, and I was like, 2 Boots, fuck your protocol. Like, fuck your protocol. I don't give a shit about your protocol. Oh, I forgot to mention that the spy bot is just an anxious dog. It very much happens at the beginning when he's like looking for Maul, and he's like, I can't find him. But then it happens at the end where he's like, oh, he's home. Spybot is just an anxious dog, and I love him so much for it. It makes me so happy. I need a Funko Pop of Spybot. I should try and see if I can buy one if they're on sale, because I very much want one. Another one of my notes is just I loved 2 Boots kicking absolute ass. I kind of forgot that he's like a police officer. And I kind of forgot that, because he's so bad at like acting, because he's walking around being like, yeah, I'm just taking this prisoner to places because he did a bad thing. And then he's telling Rai, he's like, act normal. And I'm like, no, you act normal. I think at one point I like audibly yelled at the TV. I was like, 2 Boots, shut the fuck up. But then when clearly it's not working, he like beats the shit out of those 2 guys and like stuns them. He doesn't even shoot them, but he still like beats the shit out of them. I was like, let's go 2 Boots, just kicking absolute ass. I loved that. I loved the high-speed chase. The high-speed chase was so fun to watch, because of course she shows up and the like bumping music still bumping from when like she saw the speeder earlier, and then they get in and it like continues and becomes like, I guess in a way, like non-diegetic sound mixed with the diegetic sound inside of the speeder, and I absolutely loved that throughout the entire chase scene, and it was just so fun. I was like, this is fun. It was just like, this is what happens when you give a teenager a car and like shit just happens, and Lawson's like, it's not gonna work with this, and she's like, bitch, watch. And I loved that. Devin is an icon. She's a legend, and I absolutely loved her. Just her and that speeder are great, absolutely wonderful. And then my last note is just this music goes ho hard, and it's just like literally like the end of the episode where it just gets very boy, and I was like, yes, give me the bois. I loved it. I loved this episode so much. I'm so excited to watch the next 2. And then probably be very tired afterwards. But I am excited for the next 2. So yeah, but those are all my thoughts for episode 8. Like I said, I really like this episode. It's just that like some of the pacing and like them cutting out things that I would have really liked to actually see was kind of annoying. But I am glad that they actually showed us the chase scene. I was kind of worried that they'd be like, oh no, we're just gonna skip this chase scene. I would have been like, fuck. But I am glad that they actually did show us that. So yeah. Okay, so I just watched episode 9. I have so many feels. First off, rest in peace, Spybot. I like audibly screamed when he got sliced and then fell into the acid. I was like, no! I was so sad about that. I was like, no, like I think he genuinely has become like one of my most favorite droids. Like, he's so great. Or at the one point he's like, no touchy, or yeah, he says no touchy when like Rai accidentally touches him, and then like when Rai and Lawson are having their like father-son bonding time, and I was like in the middle of writing like being like, I doubt Spybot's here for it, and then towards the end he's like, get off, and I was just like laughing. I was like, I love Spybot. I'm so sad he's dead. I'm so sad he's dead. And the ending was just great. Well, because the 2 Inquisitors were like, inform him that they're headed their way, and I was like, who else is here? Is it Vader? Is it Sidious? And then I just hear the and I was like, oh, It's Vader! I'm so excited for the finale. I'm so excited for the finale. First note is just more Star Destroyers, because there's another one coming, in which I'm assuming is Vader's Star Destroyer. Like, he was, like, on his way and stuff like that, because obviously the Inquisitors can't do shit, apparently. So there's that, and then Two Boots calling Maul untrustworthy is an understatement. They're like, he's untrustworthy, and I was like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I loved that. And then I wrote this down because it's so funny, which is this Maul destroying the ATST, and he's just like, he gets done and he like slightly looks behind him to see that Devin's watching him. I was like, motherfucker's just showing off to her. Like, he just wants to impress her at this point, and it's clearly it's working. But I just thought that was so funny. I'm glad Rye finally has a weapon. He, it's on stun, but we'll take it. We'll take a weapon on stun. Just him not being a useless guy in the corner, which I think he sort of established when he got captured. He was like, I was just a useless guy sitting in a corner. So, and he's a fairly good shot. I'm assuming his dad taught him how to shoot a gun. So, there's that, or at least I would hope so. Other than that, I'm like, who the fuck told you how to use a, like, it's a blaster, but I was like, who the fuck told you how to use a blaster? But I'm glad that he has a weapon now. And then the fight between the two Inquisitors and the Jedi and Maul was so good. There's this shot, and I had seen it from spoilers on, like, news feeds and stuff like that, of, I don't even know how to describe it, but they're all, like, kind of in, like, a circle, like, stopping the lightsabers all at the same time. It looks so fucking cool, but that fight scene was great. And then, like, Maul seeing that all of his people were dead and, like, saying fuck it and, like, spinning his lightsaber around, cutting like 3 stormtroopers in a row in half and doing a bunch of other shit. I was like, God, this is so cool. Like, the entire fight sequence was so cool. I mean, this was very condensed, I think, compared to the previous episode. Like, the previous episode, it was like a lot of time, and it was very fillery. It was like a lot of time of like Maul having what I would, like, after a little, 20 more minutes of consideration, deem like an unnecessary mental crisis. Like, I didn't find it all that necessary, but like Maul having this like mental crisis, and then the other group trying to get Rye out of prison, and sort of like, the fillery of it being like, well, now we've got to find a way to get them together, and that's where Crimson Dawn gets involved. I don't remember his name. I knew that someone had a sinking suspicion that like Kira might show up in the show, so like if she does, she'll show up in the finale, but I don't think Kira will be in the show. But like Crimson Dawn getting involved, and then like that being their form of escape, and now it's like they have to, form up as allies because they have the common enemy of the Empire. And I think as much as Maul wants Devin to be his apprentice, I think, I don't know, I guess in a way he's starting to kind of realize that like maybe that's not the best route. It's like the part of this is that's the struggle, like that's she's kind of been the problem. Though I wouldn't say she's been the problem the whole time, because like he got caught and like seen before he tried to like take her as his apprentice, but like them coming together wasn't the greatest idea, and it's definitely like hurt them more than anything else. And so I think in a way he kind of, I don't know, I guess has realized that maybe her best interest is to continue with her master. I guess we'll see what the final episode has to hold, because I'm very excited for it. But yeah, these were very small thoughts, and I talk really fast, so that also doesn't help. But I think those are all my thoughts for episode 9. Like I said, it was all very condensed, so like there wasn't much to speak about in terms of plot-wise, because it was like a majority of it took place in the like waste area and stuff like that. So like there's not really much to go on with that, but I'm so excited for the last episode. Alright, so I just watched the 10th and final episode of Maul Shadow Lord, and I really liked it. Obviously, I knew before coming in, because they had announced it before the show even aired, that there was going to be a second season, and I liked the way it ended. It was, like, I'm not surprised by the outcome, which is kind of disappointing, but like, I don't know, it's not that bad. Like, I kind of, like, I was waiting for Doc to die. I thought it would be earlier in the season, but now that like I've watched through it, it makes more sense that like he dies at the end, that Maul sort of like purposely abandons him so that Vader can kill him, so that Devin has this like unbridled rage towards the Sith and towards the Empire now, and it just makes so much more sense. And now she's like fully willing to be trained by Maul. Like it just makes so much more sense now. And so like that didn't surprise me. Didn't feel much from Lawson's death either. Like I mean, I think he's an interesting character, but like because him and Rye had been doing all of this like random I should have been there for you stuff starting in the previous episode, I was like, this man's gonna die. This man's gonna die. So I don't like that Lawson was like, you know, Two Boots, make sure he gets to his mother. Don't take him to his mother. His mother works for the Empire. So I am here for like the weird. I want to describe this as the more criminal version of Rebels, where like it's the more criminal found family trope, where Rebels was like like you know like people fighting against the Empire, and this is also people fighting against the Empire but on a less morally grounded way. It's like they're all gonna like I guess join Crimson Dawn and like just fight shit there and do it that way, which is gonna be interesting. Or at least that's what I suspect, is that like Rye and Two Boots will just stay with Maul and Devin. As much as Two Boots will probably be like, but the protocols. And we'll be like, fuck your protocols, man. So there's that. My first note is just Maul's legs can't catch a break. I don't even know what that's in reference to. His legs got so many beatings in this episode that like I don't even know. Those poor legs. And especially at the end where he's like trying to sit down, he's like, oh, and I was like, that's how I feel when I sit down. But yeah, I just I took like no notes. I took like three like that, and then like Doc finally being dead, and then one thing that given Maul doesn't know, but I had to write it down where I was just like Maul saying that like you know, channeling your rage is what's gonna defeat Vader is hilarious, because it's like I don't know any Sith who has successfully defeated Vader, but I know at least I'm pretty sure 3 Jedi who have successfully defeated Vader, because I want to say that Obi-Wan did it in the Kenobi show, and then Ahsoka did it in Rebels, and then obviously like Luke did it in Return of the Jedi. I fucking blanked on the name of that goddamn movie, but like Luke did it in Return of the Jedi. I don't know any Sith users who have managed to successfully fight Darth Vader. So it's like every person who uses some dark side of the Force has gotten their ass kicked by Vader. So and they definitely would have as well. I do like just the way that they all fight though. Like Vader fights fucking dirty. He's like throwing punches. I thought that was great, but I also like the way that like both Vader and Maul use their surroundings. Like there's a lot of like, you know, they're outside the city, but like there's these like crumbling, I don't know, like ruins and stuff like that, and so they're using that to like collapse them to like give them more time, or like collapse them to like stop the people from running away, or like Vader when Maul collapses the ruins is like pushing stuff here and there, and it sort of just shows how incredibly powerful Vader is. It was like also a fight that I didn't know I wished to see, which was Maul fighting Vader. Like it was so cool. It did take up a majority of the episode, but I think it was just so cool that it's just like watching that fight occur, and that it's like eventually, you know, Doc is gonna die and Devin's gonna sort of like channel her inner rage through that, and I am excited to see her sort of become a version of Darth Talon, which I am looking forward to seeing. I'm so excited for season 2 already. I did like, because my dad pointed out that Vader doesn't talk in the show, and I know that technically I think James Earl Jones sold his voice to Disney, but I like the fact that they decided not to use it. I think it's a good choice that it's like it's such an iconic voice, but at the same time it's like they sort of Michael Myers Darth Vader in a way where it's just like he's this silent stalker enemy that just sort of like appears. Like they even have like a fucking jump scare in this goddamn episode of him like appearing out of a wall and like bashing his way in, and I think it works really, really well. Where it's like he's just this silent, dark, horrible stalker villain, and it works really well with like fighting the group and like chasing them down and trying to kill them, and I really, really liked that. I thought it was so cool. Overall, I just loved the show. I thought it was so fun. I'm sure I said it at the beginning of the video, but Maul is probably one of my favorite characters. Like he's up there with like Thrawn, and I think he's a really well written villain, and in a way, it's just like he's just a cool character. Like he was cool when I was a kid. He was cool, like watching him just be an absolute badass in Phantom Menace. He was cool when I was an adult when I finally watched like all the animated shows because I didn't get into them until I was an adult. And so I like that. I like that we get more Maul, and it's sort of like Maul at the honestly at the height of his sort of criminal empire. It's like the empire is small now, but I am excited and hope to like watch it become the giant criminal empire that it's like supposed to become. And I'm curious to see how that goes throughout like season 2, and if they do other seasons and stuff like that. Like I am very excited to see how that plays out and that works out, and like how Devin plays a role into that, and how the other characters play a role into that as well. Like it's so cool, and there's just the animation for this show is phenomenal. I hope they bring this animation back if they do another animated show. Like I hope they bring it back because the animation is just so amazing. Like it looks like everything's been painted, and it looks gorgeous, like absolutely beautiful. The animation is fantastic. I think that the pacing was a little awkward here and there, but like it's fine. Like I think it still works, and the music is fantastic. Like Kevin Kiner and his kids do a great job with a lot of the animated soundtracks and stuff like that. But I think with this one, it's like it's to a whole other level. Like it sounds amazing. It works so well with Maul. I like that he blends other pieces from the movies into it. Like there's, he brings in Duel of the Fates every once in a while. For this episode, he brought in the Imperial March and stuff like that. And so I like that it sort of blends in like old Star Wars with new Star Wars, and it's a very nice take on that. And this show is so good. It's so good. I'm so tired. I need to go to bed. But like this was just such a fun show to watch, and so exciting and stuff like that. And I just happy Star Wars month. But yeah, I think those are all my thoughts, I think, for the show, or at least as much as my tired brain can handle. Like I said, I have to wake up in less than 8 hours for work tomorrow because I have to wake up at 4 a.m. So yeah, but yeah, let me know if you've seen Maul Shadow Lord season 1 and what you thought of it. You know that I very much liked it. So yeah, happy Star Wars Day. Like, subscribe. Bye bye.